Hey guys, this is Prasad, and today I will be reviewing the Google Nexus 4. First, let's go with a simple hardware tour. Let me take the case off, and I will be putting a link in the description for which case I have. It's a pretty nice case, I'd say. It's really smooth and easy to grip when you put it on the phone, and it doesn't attract that many fingerprints unless you have really oily hands, so I'd say it's not bad at all. Now let's take the phone. I've put a screen protector on this, and so there are a few bubbles like over here, here, and down here. But other than that, the phone looks pretty good from the front. On the back, it has glass on the back. Again, pretty solid looking on the back. And then when you get in the right angle, I don't think I'll be able to show you on the camera, but if you put it at the right angle, it will start sparkling, because there are small little checker dots inside of this that glow when you expose it to at the right angle. When you expose it to light at the right angle. But other than that, the sides of the phone, if you can see here, they're just it's like a nice matte finish. Let me focus on that for you. As you can see, that's the matte finish over here, and over here, here's the headphone jack and mic jack built in. Here's the microphone. Here's the power button. Here's the micro USB port, as well as another microphone for noise cancellation. And on this side, they're just a pair of volume rockers. So overall, the whole design is minimalistic. Up here on the front, here is the front-facing camera, the headset speaker. And here are the two sensors. I believe one is ambient light, and I don't know what the other one is. On the back of it, here is the camera. Yes, this is the camera. Oh, my bad. This is actually the camera. This is actually the flash. I don't know why they circled the flash. It kind of looks like the camera. But it's a okay camera. It's not the best camera, but it's pretty good, I'd say. So let's go ahead, power the device on, and here is my home screen. It's pretty. The pixel density on this is 1200 by 768, so it's a bit higher than 720p. So it's quite nice, but it's a little wider compared to most phones, but it fits nicely in the hand. I like the feel, especially because of the soft touch rubber on the sides. But yeah, so let's get on with the review. So let's start off with some benchmarks. I believe I have a benchmark folder over here. And we are going to start off with quadrant first. But before I start with quadrant, let's make sure that all the tasks are off so that it is not slowing down the phone. So okay, let's go to quadrant standard and run the full benchmark. There are slight errors with quadrant currently. I don't know why exactly, but on 4.2.2 as well as 4.3, it doesn't score that high, or at least as high as it should. Throughout the benchmark, the scores are pretty good, but when it comes to benchmark time, you'll see that the scores that this device gets aren't that high or aren't impressive whatsoever. So as you can see here, the score is 4,888. Which is not really that impressive considering that the HTC One X scores around there. And that's a last gen device, while this has a quad-core Snapdragon 800. Not an 800, it has a quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU, which is supposedly pretty fast, but the quadrant benchmark doesn't show that at all. Let's close that out really quickly so it doesn't slow down our next benchmark. Our next benchmark will be Antutu. And this will be Antutu version 4. And as you can see, previously got 18,441. But let's test it again. So as you can see, the Antutu benchmark is slightly different than it used to be. But I'd say it's still pretty accurate for multi-core devices. It's much better. It gives you a much better idea of what the device is capable of compared to quadrant. which in my opinion is an antiquated benchmark, but I'm just showing it for comparison's sake. So let's wait till NT2 finishes. Okay, now it's begun the graphics section of the test, and everything is looking really smooth. Now here is like the 3D test, which replaced the old Soldier test, and this is OpenGL 2.0, I believe. And as you can see, it's running at around 26 FPS, with 23 right now, 24, 25, just right under like 30-ish, like around 25-ish consistently, which is not bad at all, considering it's much more demanding than the previous benchmark that was in place. Okay, and the test is complete. Let's check what we got. Okay, this time around, I got 17,914. Last time score was a bit better, but again, it's in a bit of a margin of error. So, just again, as usual, take these results with a grain of salt. But the device itself is blazingly fast. I don't really encounter lag through daily usage. It just flies. Okay, let's close that benchmark out so it doesn't affect our next benchmark. Let's go do GFX bench. Okay, and we'll agree to this, and we'll skip this. Don't show again. Okay, now let's do performance test, and let's run the T-Rex benchmark on screen, and let's run the Egypt HD benchmark, and let's start that off. Now this will be in the horizontal format. So okay, first it's doing the T-Rex benchmark, which is the newer version of the benchmark, which is supposedly featuring console quality gameplay. The benchmark seems to be running fairly smoothly, probably around 20 to 30 FPS, which is not bad at all. Maybe a little higher even, but I doubt it. Okay, this portion of the test, the Egypt HD part, looks to be running incredibly smoothly. Occasionally on the top of the screen, you'll see that it says VSync limit, which means that the FPS is so high that it's running at like the maximum capacity of the screen, which I believe in this case is 60 frames per second, so it's pretty impressive. But then again, this test is fairly old, so Again, it's saying VSync limited occasionally, once in a while, so that goes to show that it's probably running around close to 60 frames per second at those portions. Okay guys, as you can see the results are in, and the TRX HD benchmark has an average of 20 frames per second, while the Egypt HD benchmark has around 46 frames per second, so both are pretty good. Okay, let's go to our next benchmark, which shall be 3D Mark. And we're just gonna run it at the extreme setting because we clearly know that this device is not a low-end device. So as you can see, here's my previous unlimited score, but we're gonna run it at extreme. Okay. I don't know why it's lagging out a little over here, but see, as you can see over here for the regular ice storm test, it's saying that it's maxed out already. So this test is too light for your device. So we are going to run extreme. Okay, and the test has begun. On the extreme portion of this test, it seems that we're hovering on 25, 21 right now. Around 30 now. So it seems like we're hovering right under 30 frames per second, which is not bad for the extreme portion of this test. I have tested it out on the Ice Storm Normal Edition, and I found that generally I score over 10,000, so around there, like, because most of the time the frame rate is around 60 FPS, which I am assuming is due to a lower resolution, while this is running at native 720p or 1080p. Okay, and I think it's now going to run the second test. So, yep, again, it's running fairly smoothly. This time it's running right around 31, 30, 25. It seems to be running around closer to 30 this time around. Well, as before, it was running sometimes 21, 19. Sometimes it even dipped all the way down to 14, so that test seemed less intensive. or the device just performed better on it. On this part of the test, it started out at around 25 FPS, but now it seems, again, as those jets appear, the FPS drops dramatically. Like right now, it's barely playable. It's like, it's actually terrible. Right now, it's like around 11 FPS, 13, so it's pretty poor. At the beginning, it wasn't that bad, but it seemed that towards the end, the device started performing pretty bad. And now this is the physics portion of the test, which is heavily CPU intensive because of physics. Now, as you can see, it's running at 28 FPS, 29, 29, 20. Yep, consists around 29 and 25, sometimes even 30. So, not bad at all. And I think the tests are complete. And let me go on and hold the device. And after all those tests, it's become a little warm. And as you can see in the Ice Storms test, we scored around 6,250, which is not bad at all. Now, one of the things I have to bring up about this device is that after using it for a while, it does heat up. And once it starts heating up, the processor does slow down a bit. It's something Google did to make sure that the phone doesn't get too hot with the quad-core processor. But yeah, it does get hot occasionally when you run graphically intensive games. Battery life on this is pretty good on normal days. Like, as long as if I don't use any data, I get around 3 to 4 hours of screen on time depending on the day and the usage. And on other days where if you're playing games or stuff like that, the FPS usually, the battery life usually drops with mobile data usually drops to around 1.5 hours. Maybe 2, so it's pretty average. Like, some people complain about the battery life, but I don't think it's that bad. Depends on what you're doing. If you're planning on being on your phone all day long checking emails, then I suggest that you get something like the Galaxy Note 2 or 3 now, since that's coming out. But I'd say that this phone is a great purchase, especially now that you can get it for around $200 or to $250. This is a 16 gigabyte model, by the way, so it's a great value and it's really fast. Like, the camera won't do justice because it's only recording at 30 FPS, but over here, it's definitely running at 60 FPS. There's no stutters, there's no lag at all. So, pretty amazing. And just for sakes, like, instead of just running pure benchmarks, let's run a game. Now, you guys have seen this game before. I've played it plenty of times. It's, of course, Rayman. Let's turn the volume down a bit. Now again, on camera, camera doesn't do this game justice because it's running at pretty much, I'd say it's probably running at around 60 frames per second. It's perfectly fluid and the colors are really good because the display is pretty top notch, I'd say. For this price range, it's amazing that the black levels are actually pretty close to black. Like, it's not AMOLED black levels, but it is not bad at all. Okay, now let's get to the specs of this phone. This phone has a quad-core Snapdragon S4 and has 2 gigabytes of RAM. This phone does not have LTE support of any form. It does actually have LTE support if you have T-Mobile in certain areas, but it won't work on LTE for AT&T or other carriers, so I'd pretty much say LTE is not really the big push for this phone. Another thing that with this phone is that it has Wi-Fi, BGN, and it has N dual bands, so it will have both the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz bands. So pretty nice overall. And the camera is 8 megapixels, so that's plenty of megapixels in my opinion, and the video is 1080p. The camera is pretty good, and the photosphere feature is really neat, in that you could take 360-degree pictures. But after a while, it's kind of like a gimmick, I'd say. Like the pictures don't align exactly one to one, and it's pretty hard to get a perfect panorama unless you try it over and over again. So it's a pretty good feature, but not the best. Aside from that, it comes in 8 or 16 gigabytes of storage, which in my opinion, I wish they added more storage or had a micro SD card to this phone, because even 16 gigabytes it feels a bit restrictive compared to phones like the Galaxy S4 and HTC One. And the other thing is that the 3G speeds, I'd say on AT&T, I get around sometimes like 8 megabytes per second on speedtest.net. So it's not bad, but it doesn't hold a candle to something like LTE, which you can get around like 25 to 30 at times. So yeah, that's it. So that pretty much concludes my review of this phone. So if you guys like this video and want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and like and subscribe to my channel, and I guess I'll see you next time.